Well, what you're seeing now is it's a behind-the-scenes documentary on the making of Eddie Presley. It was done by a guy named David Green, who unfortunately is no longer with us. He died in a car wreck way after the movie was finished. But he was a film student. He'd come up to me and he said, "Hey, I'd love to make a documentary." I think he was a friend of Rusty Cundiff's, who was a friend of ours, and he said, "Well, let me make a documentary on the movie." And I thought it was great, great idea. Yeah. And so he did. So he followed us around. We gave him complete access, right. And he followed us around all over shooting it. So this is what you're seeing. It's basically like a 30-minute distillation of the footage he shot. And he never was able to totally finish the documentary because he passed away. But he was a talented guy. I saw his student film. And he was actually a talented filmmaker in his own right. But let me tell you a little about the origin of Eddie Presley. As far as we said before, it was a play that Dwayne had written. But how he raised the money was I'd gone back to my high school reunion, my 10-year high school reunion, and it was right after the making of Leatherface, and ran into a girl there who I'd gone to high school with who had moved away, and she had a friend. She had been in some of my Super 8 movies. And she had actually, her boyfriend at the time was a producer, or a producer that wanted to get into films. He was a commercial guy. His name was Tom Denolf. And she said, "Well, my boyfriend is really interested in producing movies, and is it okay to have him call you?" Like, of course it was. And so anyway, we met out here at Barney's Beanery, and long story short, he ended up finding the executive producer for the movie, a guy named Bill Brantley. So my brother Bill, Tom Denolf, and we brought in Chuck Williams to produce the movie. They basically functioned as the triumvirate producing it with Brantley's money. And so if I'd never gone back to my high school reunion, it would not have happened the way it happened here. So I always advise filmmakers to go back to their high school reunions because you never know. You might run into some guy who's got some dough, and I grew up in Georgia, so there was like some kind of cachet as far as, out in Hollywood nobody cares if you're making a movie, but back there it's like it's still glamorous kind of, and so it's like an unusual thing. So go back to your high school reunions, guys, because it pays off. But anyway, this stuff right here. This is from the first day or second day of shooting. I think it's probably the first day of shooting. Right here, this stuff with the security guard office. And as we said, shot at Movie Tech, which you did get to see the sign that we talked about.
That's right.
But I think Eddie Presley was one of those movies where for me anyway, it was certainly a life-changing thing. This is why I got into films. I to begin with, as far as making independent films. My first film was an independent film. And I just don't function well in a structured environment. And there's my brother. This is one of the producers, Bill. You'll meet.
His big gag is we're not paying these people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, David, the guy who's made this video, David wanted to have it was a structured thing where he had some scripted stuff he wanted people to do. And so Bill's line was, "Yeah, we're not paying you guys, are you?" And that was a running gag throughout the documentary, which I guess you'll see part of. But anyway, this movie was really it just reminded me why I got into filmmaking to begin with.
In the background, there's my truck that we shot all the shots off the back of the movie.
But for the limo,
for the limo scene. That's the truck, the Mazda truck. We shot all the shots.
But I don't know how you other guys feel about it. But it was like one of the best experiences I've ever had on a movie. And I always remember how I felt shooting it. And one of the joyous memories was I remember. We wrapped one night, and Tom and I think it was Denolf, Tom Calloway, Denolf, and we were like running down Hollywood Boulevard to get in the car to go see dailies of your movie. You had to go see dailies at Photocam or an answer print of Critters or whatever the heck it was. Yeah. And we were running down the boulevard, and we just looked at each other and we were just laughing because it was just so much fun. And
that's right. It's great seeing all these faces again.
The thing occurred to me as we were winding up the other thing, that really the amazing thing about this, what just occurred to me while we were watching this, is that we're all still in the fucking business. I mean, when you look at the content of what the movie's about, we're all still here.
That's true. That's true. And that's the one thing they can't. No matter how bad the situation gets, what they can't take away from me is your love of movies. You're loving what you
Jeff.
do.
There's Jeff Burr
That's
right there.
Jeff's.
Brutally cut.
I actually my haircut. I had a haircut from this person next to the office where we had in Hollywood,
Screenwriting guard.
and
That was his
great
role.
haircut.
Screenwriting guard.
And, and I mangled the delivery. I'm always better in rehearsals. I think every actor says that, but the rehearsal was better.
Nah, I'm great. I'm great off camera.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the greatest off camera actor in the universe.
Yeah.
But no, let me go. Tom, how did this movie? I think a good question is, how did this movie affect your career, one way or the other? Did it have any?
Well, definitely, because it was one of the most fun projects I'd worked on, for the most part. It sort of...
But did you ever get a job offer or anything off of it? It's like, oh, I loved your work in Eddie Presley. Come shoot this movie for me?
Not directly. Like 3 or 4 years later, people had seen it.
Okay.
And people talked about it, but at first no one really saw it, I think.
Right.
Unfortunately.
I was actually lucky that one of the guys who was going to be who wanted to come in and meet with me and as an editor later on, loved this film and got me a film called Double Blast, which I did.
Exactly. It was
Off
right
his
after
film
this.
with
That's
Bill
right.
Burr.
That's
Actually,
right.
we did another film together.
He shot in the Philippines.
All right.
Yeah, good, a nice little kids movie. Right up there. And Dwayne, how did
Well, obviously I
What-
met Quentin, so that started a chain of events. But yeah, I know I was. It sort of motivated me to do my own stuff.
No,
too,
and that's the thing. We should tell the people. Dwayne made a movie a while after this, in a lot of the same similar spirit, really, but a very sweet movie, actually, very
way less money, but yeah, the same.
called Together and Alone, which it's a cool little movie, and some of the same actors are in it, and
Yeah, actually, a lot of the
yeah,
same people.
and-
Harry James.
but it's a good little movie, and it's a little movie in terms of this is an epic compared to that,
Right.
just in terms of budget.
No, the sound mix
Yeah.
on this costs more than
Yeah.
my movie. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There's Tom Denolf, my brother, and Chuck. This is like we just seen dailies for the first time, and we actually screened dailies because we were shooting. We cut on film, so that's something I really miss in films now, because you really don't get a chance to screen dailies anymore because it's always on video, and it was such a camaraderie thing where the crew could come in and watch dailies in a screening room. And you have a beer and
Several.
and just talk about the day's events and what's good, what's bad, etc. And that's kind of gone now with video dailies because you never get that. Everyone in the same.
It was
room.
always great at the end of the day to go and hang out together.
Yep.
And,
Here, this is a room at Photochem, and we're screening dailies here. And we had a big editorial staff in terms of the assistant editors, and actually a couple of them went on to write. The one guy wrote USA TV Movie, among other stuff.
Yeah, all the assistants were just people recommended to me. I got paid a little something to do this. My assistants got paid nothing, except for a guy who got paid money one night to stay up all night and double splice the film. So,
right.
so we worked them in shifts. They would come in and give what they could, and we sort of rotated them around so that everybody could stay involved and not burn them out. And they did stick with me clear through.
That's the thing, they really did. And every one of them, Homer
Yeah, Homer.
Crockett, a great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
I still see Homer from
No, I
time to time.
saw him recently too. Yeah.
I still see
He's
him.
a good guy.
Well, the good thing about this project too, everybody in this room, we've all worked together again on
That's true.
several different
Exactly.
projects.
Exactly.
Well, the best, I'd moved to LA not long before this movie, so back in Ohio, I directed and did all this stuff and moved out here. And everybody I met was a director, so I wasn't going to get to direct a movie because they already had one of those. So I was at the American Film Institute and I edited. Oh, there's Larry.
This is actually right before the peanut butter incident that I had referred to. This is the day we made the deal with him to do the movie. He came in and he goes, I think we paid him $750 cash and all the peanut butter he could eat. But unfortunately he's had a stroke since. He's still around. He's still alive and kicking and still as nasty as ever. But he's a very funny guy though. He is. A little goes a long way. But
Remember, he wanted to kick the boom guy's ass.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't like the way he looked at him.
he's doing the French accent. Larry with accents. He will call you up at 3 a.m. doing this incredibly bad Cockney accent. You're like, yes, I'm Dr. Fadinkle here, and just leave messages on your machine for many minutes. And
Yeah, Larry called this movie Eddie Presley.
you're still working on it, Eddie Presley? Jesus Christ. Which I think is a great title, Eddie Presley, with this movie. That's our script supervisor, Anita Lerner, who Tom always imitated. Like, because she would sometimes, in the performance stuff, she would get a little lost. And you're in the take, and we're like filming, and all of a sudden, in a break in the action, Dwayne pauses, and you hear this. Do it, Tom. You hear this frantic, looking through the script, wondering where the hell we are right now. But Tom would always imitate her every day. Like,
There's my Polaroid that Larry almost broke. He's throwing it around. You could figure out.
Yeah, actually, we did a negative image thing in one of the versions of the script. I mean, in the film. You see the image from the Polaroid, the negative image from the old Polaroid thing. We did a little transition on that. That's not in the last version.
It took about 10 minutes to actually develop.
And
And here we are.
famous-
This is a beautiful day on top of Iron Mountain, the corner of Highland and Santa Monica. And it's very instructive here because it's like now 8 years later, and I think we were savvy about a lot of things, but still incredibly naive about a lot of things too.
Well, this is a good point. I mean, all you filmmakers out there should shoot some video of your film because I'm looking back here going,
Seeing how pathetic you
yeah,
are.
how pathetic I look. Oh my gosh! But I mean, it's a great way to document. Like Jeff, you keep journals.
I think it's very common now.
Yeah.
It wasn't that common back then, but now it's like every movie's got a behind the scenes. Every movie's got it's certainly every big.
But I'm
movie.
sure some low budget movies or some independents they don't think about shooting something.
Okay, let's go around the room and ask, what's one piece of advice you give to a aspiring filmmaker who's doing an independent film? One single piece of advice.
You go first.
Me?
Anybody.
Have a great script.
Yeah.
Network with all your friends and don't be scared to ask for favors.
That's it. Yeah, I would say have confidence in the script, i.e., having a good script, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for anything. That includes actors or anything, because the worst that can happen, they say no.
Say no. Which I always say no means not right now.
That's true.
Just ask a little later.
That's true. And it's like now, Tom, would it have been smart in this day and age, 1999, to shoot this on digital video versus 16 millimeter?
I'd have to say no.
Yeah, I would say no.
Yeah, stick with the film.
Yeah, stick with film.
Speaking of video and what you should do, it's like you can shoot things on video now. If you're trying to do your first feature and you've never shot anything, you almost have no excuse.
There isn't.
Go shoot a scene, cut it together yourself, whether it's even from the same movie. All the better if it is, to test your script. The script's free. You can write a script for the same amount of money it takes Joe Esterhaus. It's like just paper and words.
That's right.
That's true.
It's
Yeah,
tough.
the raw materials.
The
That's
raw
right. Yeah,
material.
right.
That's
Yep.
almost
Yeah.
free. $5 for a ream of
Yep.
paper.
Exactly. And there should never be any excuse for a bad script. A lot of people.
That's true. I mean,
make
there's
excuses for that.
different tastes. Everyone has different tastes. But at the same time,
Right.
to go into production on a half-ass script,
It's-
which happens all the time.
All the time,
there is no excuse for that.
There's no excuse.
Especially on the independent level. Bad enough on a studio level.
Yeah.
But we expect that because they're operating under different.
Well, that's the thing.
frame
I
of
mean, the
reference.
people have access to all this digital equipment. Where's how many good movies have been shot like that?
No, that's true. I mean, there have been. I mean, I have no prejudice against any media. I'll shoot video. I don't give a heck.
Right.
But the main thing is, what are you shooting? That's what you got to pay attention to. And I've been guilty of doing. I mean, I try my best on every movie, but I've gone into production and stuff with quite honestly bad scripts. And you operate then. You're trying to make a bad script okay. You're trying to make the proverbial chicken salad out of chicken shit. And it's so frustrating. And if you start with something good, which we did on this movie at least, then it can only get better if you're talented.
And I think the same thing applies to the music too. You're never going to quite get the big production values and the glossy sound that you'd be wanting to get on a bigger film, but what you have to do is just try to understand where the director and the writer are coming from and feel the spirit of it and watch the movie over and over and over again, and then try to do, just capture the feeling rather than go for the gloss.
Yeah.
And the music has always been I mean, Dwayne's a musician, Tom loves music, we all love music. It's very tough with films, speaking as a director, to get the right sound, because you have an idea. I'm not a musician, but you hear stuff in your head and you don't have the tools, the knowledge really to
Exactly.
explain it to a composer. So you have to more psychological terms, like, well, here's, I think, what I'd love to convey is this and that and this. So you talk in very almost psychological terms,
and a composer,
and color terms,
A composer worth his salt, his or her salt, should understand how that translates into different scales and modes and textures.
And the one thing on this movie, which it should happen on every movie, is everyone was making the same fucking movie.
Right.
Yes.
The producer knew the movie we were making. The director knew the movie he was making. The DP knew it. The actor. Everyone. We were all making the same movie.
And we had that little speech before we started. I did that little speech where we said we're family, and that was very important.
No, it's true, and
that we were all family going into this.
And that's why I have a very fond, memories of this movie, the making of it. But as far as like a lot of movies that are made, the producer thinks it's one kind of movie, the director's thinking it's another kind of movie, and then you have this weird hybrid that doesn't satisfy anyone. And at least this movie, everyone involved, we were making the same movie, and that's when you have 50 some odd people making the same movie, trying to make it better. That's a great feeling.
There was never really, I got to admit this, there was never a bad day. I mean, I love waking up and coming to the
exactly.
set. I love making this movie.
I've been on some movies where the alarm clock goes off and it's 4:30 and you have to your call's at 6 or whatever, and you love it, but at the same time you're dreading it because there's so much tension or so much infighting going on or whatever. And in this movie there wasn't. I mean, I don't want to be. I'm not Pollyanna, and it's there were many arguments, many.
Sure.
But that's creative.
That's
it's trying to create any kind of any thing of value.
But Tom never raised his voice, from what I can remember. I don't remember Tom ever.
No. Actually, well, Tom, he was. We used to get into some screaming matches, but in a good way. And he was always, he was more operating out of nervousness because it was his first feature.
Yeah.
And also his attention span. He was a commercial filmmaker, and he wants to do different things, and his attention span, it sometimes was diverted because he was like. It was a long shoot for him, even though it was a short shoot, really.
A great golfer.
No, actually, I genuinely like him a lot.
Oh, he's a great guy.
And even though we've had a lot of problems,
Tom came to this movie wanting to learn and to be a producer and to he was always available.
But he's a funny guy and
a great guy.
And he actually we were all staying in the same house. I mean, it was like Dwayne, me, Tom, JJ Hummel, who was the production assistant. We were all living in the same place, and so we'd all ride to work together, and it was great. It was a very collegiate kind of atmosphere. It was almost like a student film in the best sense of the word. Best sense of the. It was like.
That's one.
But and Bill, my brother, he's a very talented producer, and I don't know what he wants to do now, but
I
he's
did two more movies with him.
Yeah,
after this,
exactly.
Yeah.
Very very good negotiator and stuff like that, and so we had the team was great on the producer. We couldn't have done it without him.
Look at it, and here's us carrying our chairs away. That's just it.
And where are we here? This is
Who is this?
there's Anita.
Oh yeah.
The diner. Okay, gotcha. There's Stace.
There's Judy.
Judy. Very talented makeup artist.
Yes.
We did Night of the Scarecrow.
I did like 3 films with her. Yes.
Yeah, this is the filming of the time lapse thing. It was just basically an in-camera effect that was just a really smart little.
Getting
little
Tom
thing.
on the film as a DP was.
That was
I must stress this to all filmmakers: don't chintzy out on your DP. I mean, so many people are like, "Oh, whoever can operate the camera will get him on the movie." But your DP is
just promise that you're going to shoot 35 black and white, and they'll do it.
Yeah, that's true. We do a black and white film.
That's
what we told Tom.
Yeah, I know.
That's
right. You bastards! It's 16 millimeter color. At least we didn't shoot Fuji color. Okay.
Tom's a great DP. And
no, true. And the thing is, I'd seen other stuff he'd shot, and I was like, yeah, he's good, he's okay, whatever. But I was on the right wavelength with him, but I this is the first thing we did together, and it was my fault that I didn't hire him earlier.
Right.
But it's like once we worked together, it was like we had such a good time that it was like,
Right.
I want to do. He's in the pantheon of guys I want to work with.
Here's the comedy.
And here's what we're talking about. This is outside the former World Theater, and which was for me it was so great to shoot it. It was Bill Edwards, and
That's Jeff giving a little advice to Ace.
yes, exactly. 'Cause I made him shave his head. I love making actors shave their heads. Did it to Willard Pugh on Puppet Master 5. and-
There's that tattoo. I
Yeah.
love that fake tattoo he had on his arm.
But
That's great. Hey, see, we had a grip truck. Look at that. I mean, look how big we are.
but this is right on. This is in the heart of Hollywood, right on Hollywood Boulevard, and a little high profile for a
Yeah, really.
without permit kind of move. But we had permits and stuff.
Yeah, we had permit to park vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
we couldn't put anything on the sidewalk, but we did.
But as far as just on a personal level, as far as once I made the movie, I thought at least it would have me perceived as a different kind of filmmaker, and that was not the case at all. This movie did, on a career level, did actually absolutely nothing. But that does, I don't care ultimately because I made the movie, and I'm a better director for having made it. But as far as any kind of career thing, it didn't. And just say, as an aside, any movie you see directed by me that has a signature on it, I get so much shit about it, so I felt I have to bring it up. Anyone's got a signature on it, that's my movie. As far as that's where I had total control and final cut, et cetera, et cetera. That's the movie I can stand behind. And I never take the title a Jeff Burr film unless that. All my films, I'm one of the few guys that I want in my contract where you can't put that on unless I get final cut. But the signature thing, I get so much shit about. I thought it's like, hey man, artist sciences work. What the hell,
Isn't that the guy that signs
Yeah,
movies?
met a lot of directors.
Yeah, see-
Hey, you're that guy, Jeff Burr. You're the guy who signed that movie.
See how our actors are dedicated? They're working out on the set. They're staying in shape. I mean, that's we had there's Demi Moore and then there's Willard Pugh. I mean,
Now, I can't say enough great thing about Willard. He's
great
a
guy.
one of his friends said if it wasn't for his unholy sex drive, he'd be a saint. And I think it's true. He works with works with kids, and he's just a terrific guy and a damn good actor. Hollywood's using more.
Yeah.
What he was trying to do was, it's a workout for today.
These guys were funny.
But this is the kind of thing they work well together, and they really a lot of the stuff hit the floor. But it was they were a comedy team. They really were.
I'm not that kind of guy.
There's Doug.
There's
Doug
Doug.
Arnakowski, who's now
second
become
first.
a very big
Right.
assistant director and producer now. He worked on Austin Powers.
Right,
and,
right,
some other
right,
stuff.
right.
We worked.
This was his start.
Yeah, this was his first
Yeah.
movie, I think, or
was.
first one as a.
It was
as
his
a
first
assistant.
first.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he
Well,
became the first.
He became the first, the third week of shooting, and
because
he,
Bruce Mead,
Bruce Mead, who was a very good
Right.
AD as well.
And I worked with Bruce on a Rod Stewart video before, and then he came in on this film, and Doug. We
And
got
then
through another friend, Tom Schulenberg, who turned us on to Doug
yeah.
Arnowski.
And then he and I ended up doing. He worked at Full Moon, and we did Puppet Master 4 and 5 together.
Right.
And then
I did
and
Tales
then he
from the
did
Hood with
Tales
you.
from the Hood, and
All
then
from-
he ended up doing Dust Till
yeah.
Dawn and a whole bunch of movies.
And he was a PA with Tom Schulenberg, who
And
suggested him.
You
to
see the
come over.
boom guy there, Harlan.
These guys were
the,
great.
The
These
sound
guys.
the sound guy's a guy named Bob Sheridan, Robert Sheridan. Absolutely great guy and very conscientious. He was totally into the movie, and
Yeah.
he was a guy, an older guy, and he had every reason to complain and bitch, and he never did.
They were like
And,
TV guys. It was like
yeah,
the only
he
time
done
they had ever been
Gunsmoke.
out of work.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
Right.
And
He's still working today.
yeah, no, I know. I
And
see
I
his name and
just-
stuff.
I
Yeah,
just got
definitely.
arrested.
I like him a lot, and he was great.
Who's that? I don't
That's
remember.
Still,
the
right?
still photographer,
Still photographer.
Karen.
Karen, yeah. That we had. Yeah, we had a real still photographer on this film too.
And that's a piece of advice that every filmmaker should. If you do a low budget film, make sure you shoot a lot of good stills.
Yeah, take stills.
Yeah, slides.
It's
Why is
really
that,
true.
Jeff?
Yeah,
Why?
slides, transparency,
Yeah,
the whole
slides.
bit.
Why?
Because for foreign sales, for
Oh,
one
yeah.
thing, foreign sales
Yeah.
demand
It's called The Elements, and you need like at least 12 photos to supply for all the foreign boxes.
It's foreign
and things like
magazines and stuff. They have a lot more photos. They print a lot more photos than U.S. stuff. U.S. stuff, they might have one or two key stills.
A lot of people don't shoot stills at all.
This is April. This was the girlfriend. Is the girlfriend of David Green, who made the documentary.
They need stills to do your box art and your posters and stuff too.
Here the wardrobe. The wardrobe is very, very Stacy and Kim.
Yeah.
And as we said, Kim has gone on to be a manager. Stacy, I don't know. She ended up, I think, going back to school and or something. She got out of the business, but she was very talented, very talented, and great to have around. They were a lot of fun, and been very talented too. And they totally got the spirit of the movie. Here we are shooting a movie tech. This is on the stage.
This was built as a set, but basically it had 4 walls with them non-movable, so everybody's still packed in there like sardines.
Yeah, exactly.
Watching all this footage, it really makes you jealous as a composer because there's so much action and interaction going on between everybody, and as a composer you sit in a little room. The director comes in about every week and beats up on you and then leaves, and that's all you ever see.
And this is a good point watching this documentary right now is, we treated it, you don't let the budget tell you how to act on the film set. You treat it as a professional set, and no matter what your budget is.
No, it's a good rule of thumb. I mean, if you have ambition, to don't let money interfere with the quality of the production.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things you need to kind of make a movie. It's like you really want a dolly. No, you can't afford the giantest, most expensive dolly in the world. That doesn't mean that you just throw your hands up in the air and go, well, you won't have a dolly at all. You find some other way to do it.
And that's really why any directors out there hook up with producers very early and get the team mentality, because you need help, and if you get a good producer, it can really make your life totally. You can concentrate on making the movie, which doesn't happen all that often.
This scene got cut. I remember this scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Really nice kid.
And that's the other thing. The mystery about filmmaking. Hollywood tries to make it like an exact science. It ain't. Like, I don't care how talented, how whatever you are, that you'll shoot scenes that you end up not using or whatever, or want to shoot scenes that aren't written. So it's not an exact science.
The stuff which seems like it'll be easy ends up being the stuff which takes all the time, and sometimes the real tough stuff suddenly is gone so quickly, and you're like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to explain to studio executives that have never made a movie. They're sitting there behind the desk going, well, can't you be able to say exactly how much film you're going to shoot and this and that? It's like, no, you can't.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to talk. This was like right after a day of shooting here. I remember this, and it was like I didn't want to talk about the movie at that time. I wanted to do a separate interview, but this is the only thing that actually he ended up doing with me. So I'm kind of goofing on him a little bit, and I just didn't want to be interviewed at this time. So not because I was being difficult, just because I wanted to do a separate thing, but. But my hair is a lot more gray and receded now, and this industry will do it to you, kid. I'm telling you. But as far as like a career thing, I don't know if it directly. I think Dwayne is probably directly affected most, but just because of Pulp Fiction. But it should have. I think it should have elevated. I feel like Jim. I think the score he did on the movie is terrific, and I don't know if it ever led to other work or anything, but
it did, on a couple of occasions.
But a lot of that was the problem with the film not coming out too. So
but that's that's a good point you bring up now, Jeff. See, your film still finds a life years later in many different venues and different ways, because now with DVD and soon there used to be laser disc, which they still have, but like DVD and video and cable, and you find ways that your film keeps getting introduced to the public, which is great. And new channels, like when Sundance Channel premiered it and played it, and when we made the movie there was no Sundance Channel at that time. There was no DVD at that time.
I always felt, and this is, I'm sure every director who's got an unreleased film in his closet feels this, that 20 years from now they'll call they'll discover it and call it a great movie or whatever. Which I don't know if that's going to happen, but right. The AFI trivia,
100 top films.
But films do. I mean, they're not like wine. I don't know. Most of them don't get better with age, but this movie. I think I'm not saying it's better than when it was, but it's I think it will have a life, you know, sometime, you know, once it gets out there.
Well, you know, what I suggest to filmmakers nowadays of what we're doing is we make our own little press kits, and we make 1,000 copies of it on video and send it out to everybody. So, you know, everybody we know has a copy of our movie now, which you can easily do that now.
Actually, this brings me back. I had my 30th birthday party. I remember you guys, Chuck was took me out and tried to surprise me, and I go, he goes, oh, come out on this location scout. And we already secured all our locations. And he's like, location scout, what are you talking about? And he goes, oh, come on. So it was like right before we started shooting, and then I come back to the office and there's a whole bunch of people there, and it's my 30th birthday. So that's another thing I remember about this movie.
It's about moments, it's about looks, it's about these little details, and I think it's different than most movies that most movies that are made now.
The passion.
No, it's something it's a movie we all wanted to make, and that's that says a lot. Now, and it just also in looking at all this stuff, I got to do it again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's like I really do.
Guess let's
we all
talk about
do,
that right now. Let's make a movie now. Okay.
No, because I'll say Dwayne did it, right after this movie Together and Alone, which everyone should see out there. It's a very good little movie, and I'm sure he's saying, I got to do it again, because
Sure.
it's just once you've done it and had total control, you don't want to go back. And Jay's done it several times
And with all the new technology, there is many ways to make your movie for cheaper. I mean,
but the main
for
thing
less,
is
budget.
your desire to you should have a story you want to tell. Your desire to tell that story should be bigger than your desire to just make a movie.
All right.
And a lot of times, people go, "Oh, I've got to make a movie," and they don't think about what they're making. And the passion to make the movie is bigger than the passion to tell a story. And that's the exact wrong way to do it.
Right.
Your passion should be, I've got to tell this story. I'll get it on film any way I can. And that's what you got to, And those things don't come easily and don't come fast.
Yeah. And you're going to make mistakes. I mean, everybody makes them. On every film.
You're always
That's the whole
with
idea.
any art form, with any life, man. You're always learning.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I would definitely make this movie a hell of a lot differently.
Yeah.
Today than
Yeah, but if
now.
we didn't make this movie, we wouldn't be making the movies we do now.
Right. That's what I always tell.
Yeah.
I always tell people that I'm a better director for having made that movie, even though it was an unreleased movie, and very few people saw it. And we talked earlier. We got into some film festivals. We got into Boston Film Festival, into South by Southwest,
New York?
No, we didn't.
I thought it
With the film market.
The film market, no,
right,
not
New
the
York.
festival.
Houston.
Houston and Arizona.
Right.
And we'd applied obviously to every, all the ones you guys know, the Telluride, Sundance. Sundance, I don't know if they ever, saw it or what. We screened it, and they probably fell asleep. And I remember this distinctly. There was an article about John Pearson. This is like right when he was a producer's rep. And we go, he's the perfect guy, man. We got to get him involved. He was right as he did, I guess, right before Slacker or right around that time.